Hey YouTube, here's a review on a Graco TC Pro cordless air sprayer I picked up recently, and I did so to complete one job that I got, and it was spraying 12 mailbox clusters that are spread out throughout a community. And normally I would use a Graco 490 PC Pro that I have, but in this case, not having any power, I'd have to drag along a generator to complete that job, and it just didn't seem practical because for a whole host of reasons, but namely because of that. And I thought this would be a perfect time to pick this up and see if it's something I can use on a regular basis for very small projects. In this case, those mailbox clusters I think were definitely small enough to use this type of gun on without overburdening the pump. And so I picked it up. I did so on eBay. It was brand new, and I picked it up for $320 shipped. Now, I think that's a great deal. Obviously, we're not all going to be able to find that deal, but for $500 or $550, that you can go to the big box store, pick this up. I think it's still a fair deal. One note on the TC Pro sticker, you'll see an Ultra and Ultimate sticker. That's simply a designation of where it's being sold. The gun itself is the exact same that you're going to get at your professional paint stores, Sherwin-Williams, Dunn Edwards, Vista Paint, and the like, as you'll get at the big box store with respect to this particular model or configuration, cordless that is. The only difference is the big box stores will give you a gray guard and a gray TC Pro low pressure tip. The professional paint stores will give you a blue guard and will give you an FFLP, either one or two of these, but it's the exact same gun, and these tips are completely interchangeable. They're both low pressure. You can verify that with Graco. They have told me several times that exact same thing. So, but as far as the biggest concern I had was the tip size. They normally come with a 514, and for a small project gun, that to me is way too big for any small projects that I think I'm going to be using this for. Except for maybe I did spray some graffiti, cover some graffiti, and I used a larger tip. I didn't use a 514, but I used a larger tip. I think it was a 414 or something. But anyways, what I needed for this application that I used it for last week was tips the size of 310, 312s, 210, 212s. I did end up using the 312 the majority of the time because it worked beautifully. And I do strain my paint, and I do add for every half gallon about a half eggshell cup of water, and just to get the consistency that I wanted in the paint, because I was using direct to metal paint. So far I've only shot 10 cups through this gun, 10 cups of paint. And on that job, it was about 4 cups that I used. And it's done extremely well. I've been very pleased with the performance of the gun itself, the coverage, as well as the end results. And I was at, the whole time I was spraying, I've never gone below 4, I believe, 4.5. I've never gone beyond 6.5 on the pressure setting. So the overspray was very minimal. In fact, on this particular job, I built a trifold little portable spray booth that I covered these boxes because they were alongside the curb and cars are parked there, so I didn't want to get any overspray on them. And actually looking at the plastic that I lined this little frame with, I didn't have much, if any, on it, so I would imagine I wouldn't really have had any on cars, even if I didn't have that frame. So, but it's always good to take precaution and use something if you think you might have any overspray, just to avoid any liability or anything like that. But it worked out great. I did notice there was dust from the shooting of the gun, but it's dust. It sweeps right up. It's normal. So I was very impressed with that as well. That being the biggest concern, given that it can take the smaller tips, I knew that I was going to be able to use this on a lot of different projects. And actually, I have a couple projects that are coming up that I'm going to be able to use this, and it'll be perfect for. So I'll report back on that. But anyways, the tips, the small pressure, lower pressure tips work well in this. The battery I thought may be an issue, didn't turn out to be. All 10 cups actually were shot with one battery, and it finally gave out. And so I recharged it, popped the other one in, and no problem. The one weak point I would say with this gun is going to be with the pump, and that's because it's only rated for 200 of these, which is 50 gallons. And then you're going to have problems with your pump. They're not rebuildable, so you got to replace them. At $200 or $250 to replace it, there's really not much value in that, in the sense that for $200 I can go get a replacement pump for my 490, and that'll shoot well over 1,000 gallons through it without any problems. And then it's rebuildable on top of that for another, $60 I can get a packing kit. But with this, it's just a replacement. They're throwaways, the pump that is. And it's remains to be seen if the pump actually works for what they say it will work. I mean, even that 50 gallons would be a success, I think, if you can get that out of it. But if it's far shorter than that, and from what I've seen online, it has been for many folks far shorter of a lifespan than that 200 cups. The problem with that is you're throwing away $200, $250 all the time replacing pumps. That's a problem. That could be a big problem. So just keep that in mind if you're thinking of this. If you're a homeowner, for sure, I would just get the corded one. I wouldn't even bother with this, because you have available tips for just about any project you can have at home. Plus you have power at home. You can spray flammable materials. There's too many upsides to using a corded at home than the cordless, in my opinion. But if you're a contractor or using this in the field, then it is very convenient to have this. And I could see a whole lot of uses that I'm going to be able to get out of it, providing, like I say, that the pump doesn't take a dump too prematurely. That, like I said, will be over time, we'll know. But one other note, I took that blue case that it comes with. It's a soft case with a zipper on top, and that thing fell apart day one. The zipper came apart. It's a piece of shit. I don't know why Graco gives that to customers that are paying $500+ for this gun. It doesn't protect it. If you're at all using this in the field and throwing it into your truck, unless you're going to place this gently amongst your tools, which is impractical. Nobody does that. They just throw their shit in the back of the truck and they're on their way. Time's money. And so that first day that thing ripped, it became useless for the purposes of protecting this gun. So what I did is I gutted out a DeWalt case that I had, took the Dremel, gutted it out. If you do so, make sure you clean it up as best you can, because of one of the downfalls that I'm about to mention as far as this gun goes as well. But I did so. I completely got rid of all the little plastic pieces, brushed it out several times, sanded, rough sanded down these edges. So anyhow, all that is to say is that I was able to get another case, a hard shell case for this, like Graco used to give you. And I keep just the essential stuff, a couple of tips that I'm going to use if I'm going to use those. I keep the cap in here because that has a little burp cap, and that's and the cup doesn't fit in here in this particular case. So keep a little toothbrush for cleaning, and then all my accessories, I have them attached to this case in a little soft bag. Even the cup I put in here, so works out well. That thing I was mentioning, if you do cut out a case and clean it out, one of the other weak points of this, and the reason that I'm saying that plastic, or rather that padded case, it needs to be sealed in order to protect the gun, because you can see these slots that are meant to cool the gun. They potentially could be a problem if anything gets in there, and I mean like even paint that goes in wet but dries inside and you don't get it out. It could potentially damage those triaxle pistons as they're moving backwards, and if it jams in there, it'll ruin your pump. And that's what I'm trying to avoid, is anything getting in there and damaging it. So that's why I felt the hard shell case is necessary. But even that soft shell case might work if it actually did work and the zipper worked. But other than that, it turned out to be garbage. So I use it for something else. And you might want to think about, getting a hard shell case, or taking care with that zipper if you use the blue case, because it didn't last for me. Anyhow, this is the Graco handheld sprayer TC Pro. It's a good gun. Overall, we'll see if it's a good value. Hope you got something out of it. Till next time.